what's the percentage of what's the on target earnings for this role? On target earnings, I'd say for these from 2nd of June to 20th of June, I'd say if everything goes well, inshallah, from 10K a minimum to 20K plus. The closer. For the closer. Now we are doing the event and we need like 8 appointment setters, and then we need, I'd say, 2 more closers. But bro, other than that, like I'm really open to also having you on board as a closer. I think that would be great.
What you just heard was me on a call being offered a role which had $10,000 to $20,000 on target earnings in the span of 20 days. Imagine if somebody told you it's possible online, you know, as a young man, I'm 21, I don't have a college degree, to make money, to make $10,000 to $20,000 within 20 days. What would you think? Would you want to take that opportunity? Well, that is high ticket closing. What I was offered here was a closing role. Closing is when you get on calls with potential customers and you sell them a multi-$1,000 product, right? Alhamdulillah. And from this call, not only that came, but if you heard what he said, he needed a lot of appointment setters as well, right? He needed a lot of, you know, low tier sales reps, which aren't closers. They don't close on calls. You know, they don't sell products on calls because usually that takes a little longer. But what they do is they basically, you know, they're lower tier sales reps. They set appointments or, you know, sell lower tier, you know, cheaper products, probably not multiple thousand, or they set appointments for the closers, right? And the on target earnings for them were 5,000, right? And off this call, I managed to refer 5 guys from my paid community, which, well, you know, I referred, you know, some people. 5 guys got hired, and a bunch of those guys managed to make really nice commissions, 4 figures, and kickstart their high ticket sales career, right? We can go through who those guys were later, but the point is, right, we basically from this one call, you know, I was on this call with the partner of a Muslim influencer who has 300,000 followers, roughly around there, on Instagram. You know, and this was in the end of May, right? He wanted to hire me as a closer. He wanted to get a bunch of people from my paid community into, you know, lower tier high ticket sales roles, like, you know, such as appointment setters. And I ended up passing on the opportunity because, you know, alhamdulillah, I was making some good money, you know, elsewhere in the high ticket sales space. But those guys got hired, you know, a bunch of guys got hired, and from my paid community, obviously from my paid mentorship, and they made a good amount of money. They kickstarted their high ticket sales career. You know, one of them now, he's become a closer. One of them's gone to a different role where he's making base pay plus commission. You know, the story has just gone on for them. You know, a bunch of them did very well, and they used it because a lot of them didn't really have prior experience, and they got into that role. And by the way, for them, the on target earnings were $5,000. That was, you know, that was what it was on paper, right? That's crazy. Being able to work from your laptop or your phone, you know, around the globe, being able to earn money like that, right? I'm 21. I don't have a college degree. You saw that he wanted me as the closer. And by the way, if you're thinking, okay, these are just figures on paper, blah, blah, blah. I told you this call was in May, right? In June, subhanAllah, in June, these guys, you know, this influencer and his team made 6 figures on their launch. And as I said, I referred those five guys who I referred got hired. And alhamdulillah, you know, guys were making really nice commissions. So you're probably thinking, like, what is this? Like, what is this field? Sort of, how can I get into it? You know, you're potentially thinking is, how can I get into it? And, you know, what really are these roles? Well, welcome to the high ticket sales space. The high ticket sales space is a place where products get sold for several thousands of dollars, whether that be courses, consultancy, done for you services. And really, there are two main tiers, two main sort of roles in this sort of space, which you need to be aware of at the moment, right? Because you have to understand that influencers like this influencer who had at the time roughly around 300,000 followers on Instagram, he wanted to monetize his audience. So he wanted to sell them a high ticket good, which could help them do a specific thing. In this case, his high ticket good was a mentorship or coaching program, right? So think about it. If he's an influencer with 300,000, you know, followers, and by the way, I've seen his lifestyle, you know, it's quite nice. He's not going to be in the trenches selling this. He's going to need some salesmen to sell this, right? So there are two sort of tiers of salesmen. Number one, lower tier salesmen. These are appointment setters, DM closers. These guys, what they do is they set up appointments for the closers, or they basically close people on small packages in DMs, right? This is what DM close, this is what appointment setter, sort of the appointment setter type of job is, right? And this is the kind of job which those five guys got hired into and started their career in high ticket sales. And all of those guys were happy. Like, when they got hired at the time, they were happy with this role. Alhamdulillah, a lot of those guys didn't have prior experience, and they started making remote online money. I was offered that closer role, which actually one of these five guys who's now gone away and worked in that role, he's actually been offered the closer role as well. Now, I was offered the closer role, which on paper was $10,000 to $20,000 every month. Now, I didn't take it because I had other stuff to do. But what the closer is compared to this, lower level appointment setters, etc., which is a very good starting place, by the way. You can make like the on target earnings for this was $5,000 a month, right? At that stage for a lot of young men, that's quite good, right? But the closer role, what that is basically jumping on these appointments and selling, with potential people who want to buy that influencer's product and selling it for several thousands of dollars, right? That's what the closer role is, right? So if you're watching this and you're thinking, okay, how can I potentially get into the high ticket sales space and start working as a high ticket sales representative for some of these big influencers or these big companies which are selling high ticket products in the game? Well, check out the link below. We have a paid community, a paid mentorship where we help Muslim brothers get into this. And alhamdulillah, I'll potentially see you, after you apply. Assalamu alaikum.